Diana removed her sunglasses, revealing eyes that had seen too much. Because 20 years ago, something not unlike this happened in New Mexico. I watched good people make terrible decisions out of fear. That night, after Olivia and Diana left to access the lab, Mason sat beside Alara's bed, holding her hand. In the dim light, her weakened state couldn't diminish her otherworldly beauty. "Tell me about your world," he said, trying to distract her from the pain. Alara's lips curved into a faint smile. "Lyra is beautiful but harsh. Our cities float above crystal oceans. The air shimmers with colors your human eyes cannot perceive." Her expression darkened. "But our leader, Commander Theron, has turned our scientific achievements toward control rather than discovery." "Is he the father?" Mason asked, the question that had been bothering him. "No," she whispered. "The children were conceived through sacred ritual with a genetic partner who died protecting my escape." Her silver eyes locked with his. "He was a friend, but what I feel for you, I have no word for it in my language." The confession hung between them like starlight. Mason leaned closer, drawn by something beyond rational thought. When their lips met, a warm glow emanated from Alara's skin, illuminating the room. "That was—" Mason breathed as they separated. "Energy transfer," Alara explained, her color slightly improved. "Your life force strengthens mine." Understanding dawned on him. "Then take what you need." Their second kiss deepened, and Mason felt a curious lightness, as if parts of him were flowing into her. It wasn't unpleasant, rather it felt right, as though he'd been waiting his entire life for this connection. When Olivia and Diana returned 3 days later with the synthesized supplements, they found Alara significantly stronger. The glow returned to her skin. Olivia administered the treatment, watching in amazement as the alien's body absorbed the compounds. "This will help," Alara said gratefully. "But when the time comes, the birth will be dangerous. For me and for the children." "We'll be ready," Mason promised, though he couldn't ignore the fear clutching at his heart. Diana's phone buzzed. Her expression turned grim as she read the message. "We have a problem. My superiors are expanding the search grid. They'll reach this cabin within a week." The snowstorm had been raging for 2 days, cutting off Mason's cabin from the outside world. A blessing in disguise, as it temporarily halted the government search. Inside, the atmosphere was equally turbulent as Alara entered early labor. "Something's wrong," Olivia said, checking the alien's vitals with makeshift equipment. "The babies are coming 3 weeks sooner than we calculated." Alara lay on Mason's bed, her purple skin shifting between luminescence and alarming pallor. The markings on her forehead pulsated rapidly. "The atmosphere is triggering premature birth," she gasped. "My body is rejecting—" Diana barricaded the doors and windows while Mason held Alara's hand, feeling utterly helpless. Over the past weeks, their connection had deepened beyond explanation. What had begun as reluctant cohabitation had transformed into something neither had words for, a bond transcending their different worlds. "Stay with me," he whispered, pressing his forehead to hers. "We've come too far to lose you now." The labor progressed rapidly. Olivia, despite her extensive medical training, found herself navigating uncharted territory as she prepared to deliver alien-human hybrid triplets. "I can see the first one," Olivia announced, her voice steady despite the extraordinary circumstances. With a final push from Alara, the first baby emerged. A boy with skin the softest shade of lavender and eyes that shifted between human hazel and alien silver. "He's perfect," Mason breathed, cradling the newborn. The second child, another boy, arrived minutes later with similar features but slightly darker purple skin. The third, a girl, was born last, her skin almost human-like except for a delicate pattern of purple markings that mirrored her mother's. As Diana helped clean the infants, Alara suddenly convulsed. Pearlescent fluid poured from her lips. Systemic shock, Olivia diagnosed, frantically working to stabilize her. Her body can't handle the birth trauma in Earth's environment. "Do something," Mason pleaded, torn between joy over the babies and terror for Alara. Outside, through the howling blizzard, a bright light suddenly illuminated the cabin's interior. Diana rushed to the window. "Something just landed in the clearing," she reported grimly. "And it's not one of ours." Mason's blood ran cold. "Another ship from her world?" Before anyone could respond, the cabin door burst open despite its barricades. Standing in the threshold was a tall, figure with iridescent armor and skin a deeper purple than Alara's. The insignia on his chest matched the markings Alara had described belonging to her world's military. Commander Theron, Diana identified, reaching instinctively for her concealed weapon. The alien commander surveyed the room, his expressionless face betraying nothing until his gaze fell upon the triplets. "The abominations live," he stated, his translation device giving his voice a metallic quality. "And their mother survives." Unexpected, Mason stepped between Theron and Ilara's unconscious form. "You're not taking them?" Theron tilted his head, studying Mason with scientific curiosity. "You harbor feelings for this fugitive. Fascinating. The Council will want to study this anomaly as well." "She's dying," Olivia interjected. "If you want her alive, you'll help us save her." For a moment, Commander Theron seemed to calculate his options, his silver eyes unreadable. Finally, he removed a vial from his armor. "This essence will stabilize her," he said, handing it to Olivia. "But know this, I have come to collect what belongs to Lyra." Dawn broke over the Montana mountains, painting the snow-covered landscape in hues of pink and gold. Inside the cabin, a fragile truce had formed. Commander Theron sat rigidly by the window, observing the triplets with scientific detachment. The essence he had provided had stabilized Alara, who now rested peacefully for the first time in weeks. Mason hadn't left her side, his fingers intertwined with hers. When her silver eyes finally fluttered open, the relief that flooded through him was almost painful. "The children?" she whispered. "Healthy. Beautiful," Mason assured her. "They're sleeping." Ilara's gaze drifted to Theron and her body tensed. "You found me." As was inevitable, the commander responded. "The Council demands your return along with the genetic anomalies." Diana stepped forward, her government credentials displayed. "That's not happening, Commander. On Earth, these children have rights and protection." Theron's expression remained impassive. "Your Earth laws are irrelevant. These children represent valuable scientific data." "They're not data," Mason said quietly, his voice gaining strength. "They're a family. My family." The word hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Olivia, who had been monitoring the triplets' vitals, nodded in agreement. "Their physiology is stabilizing to Earth conditions," she reported. "Removing them from this environment could be fatal." Ilara slowly sat up, her purple skin regaining its luminescence. "Theron, you once spoke of scientific ethics before the Council corrupted our research. Remember who you were." Something shifted in the commander's silver eyes, a flicker of the scientist he had been before rising to power. Diana seized the moment. "I can offer an alternative. Official records showing Alara and her children died during pursuit. I have the authority to create new identities, provide protection. Your mission would be considered complete." Theron approached the makeshift crib where the triplets slept, their tiny chests rising and falling in perfect synchronization. For a long moment he studied them, his face unreadable. "The Council fears what they do not understand," he finally said. "These children represent an evolutionary step they are not prepared to accept." He turned to Alara. "You were always the superior scientist. Alara, your theories on cross-species adaptation were dismissed too quickly." "Does that mean?" Mason began. "I will report that pursuit ended in tragedy. The fugitive and her abominations perished in the crash." Relief washed over the room like a wave. Diana immediately began making calls to secure the necessary documentation. Olivia continued monitoring the triplets' developing systems. And Mason. Mason finally allowed himself to envision a future he hadn't dared hope for. That evening, as Commander Theron prepared to depart, Alara stood with him at the edge of the clearing where his ship waited, cloaked in technology that rendered it nearly invisible. "The Council will send others eventually," he warned. "By then we'll be ready," Alara replied. "The children will be stronger, and so will I." Theron nodded once, a gesture of respect between scientists. "The stars watch over you, Alara." After he departed, Alara returned to the cabin where Mason waited with their children. He had named the boys Atlas and Orion and the girl Nova, names that bridged their two worlds. "He's gone," she confirmed, joining Mason as he cradled Nova against his chest. "And now?" he asked, the question encompassing everything that lay ahead. Alara smiled, her silver eyes reflecting the starlight streaming through the window. "Now we create something new, something neither of our worlds has seen before." The Montana wilderness fell silent as the night sky tore open. A brilliant purple streak cut through the darkness, ending in a thunderous crash that echoed across the pine-covered mountains. Mason Reed jolted awake in his remote cabin, his camera equipment rattling on the shelves. "What the hell?" he muttered, grabbing his flashlight and jacket. The 35-year-old wildlife photographer had moved to these mountains 3 years ago after his divorce, preferring the company of wolves and eagles to people. Tonight something had disturbed his sanctuary. Mason followed the smoke trail through the forest, his boots crunching on fresh snow. When he reached the small crater, he expected a meteorite. Instead, he found a damaged metallic pod, and beside it, a woman or something that resembled one. She lay unconscious, her skin a luminous purple that seemed to shimmer under the moonlight. Her features were delicate yet alien. High cheekbones, slightly elongated eyes, and intricate markings across her forehead that glowed faintly. "Jesus," Mason whispered, approaching cautiously. The woman's eyes flew open, startling silver irises with no pupils, and she scrambled backward, speaking in a musical language he couldn't understand. "I won't hurt you," Mason said, raising his hand slowly. "You're injured." Blood, or rather a pearlescent fluid, trickled from a wound on her arm. She pressed a device on her wrist, and suddenly her words transformed. "Stay back, Earth Dweller," she said, her voice carrying an otherworldly echo. "You're bleeding. Your ship is destroyed. Let me help you." Her silver eyes assessed him, and Mason felt exposed, as if she could see through his very soul. Finally, she nodded once. "My name is Alara," she said. "I am a research scientist from Lyra." "Mason," he replied, helping her stand. "And I think you're a long way from home." Back at his cabin, Mason tended to her wound while Alara studied her surroundings with fascination. Her movements were graceful despite her injury, and he couldn't help noticing the way her purple skin seemed to pulse with inner light. "Your world's gravity is stronger than I anticipated," she said, examining his bookshelf. "My mission was to observe only. Landing was unplanned." "Will they come looking for you?" Mason asked, bandaging her arm. Ilara's expression darkened. "No, I am alone." Over the following days, Mason kept Alara hidden in his cabin. He taught her about Earth while she shared stories of her distant world. Though she maintained a careful distance, something shifted between them when he showed her photographs of the wilderness. "You capture the soul of things," she said, tracing a finger over an image of the aurora borealis. "On my world, art is forbidden. Science is our only truth." One night, as snow fell heavily outside, Mason found Alara standing on his porch, her face tilted toward the stars. "I may never see my world again," she whispered when he joined her. "Is that so terrible?" Mason asked. Alara turned to him, tears like liquid diamonds sliding down her purple cheeks. "I don't know anymore." When she shivered, Mason hesitantly placed his jacket around her shoulders. Their fingers brushed, and an electric current seemed to pass between them. For a moment, neither moved. "Your kindness is unexpected," Alara said softly. "I was taught humans were dangerous." "Some are," Mason admitted, "but not all of us." As they stood beneath the vast starry sky, Mason realized his lonely existence had been irrevocably changed. Whatever came next, government agents, alien rescuers, or something else entirely, he knew he would protect this mysterious visitor who had literally fallen into his life. What neither realized was that someone had witnessed the crash. Someone already making calls to people who would be very interested in Alara's arrival. Diana Winters adjusted her government-issued sunglasses as she surveyed the impact site. 3 days had passed since multiple reports of an unidentified object crashing in the Montana wilderness. As a special investigator for a classified division of NASA, she'd seen her share of meteorites and space debris. This was different. "The radiation signature is unlike anything in our database," her assistant reported, waving a handheld detector over the scorched earth. "And these metal fragments, they're not on our periodic table." Diana knelt, running her gloved fingers through the soil where a strange luminescent residue glimmered. "Someone's been here," she observed, noticing footprints leading away from the crater. "Get me satellite imagery of this area and information on any residents within a 20-mile radius." Meanwhile, in Mason's cabin, Alara was gaining strength. She sat cross-legged by the fireplace, absorbing the warmth that seemed to nourish her purple skin. "Your atmosphere is breathable, but lacks certain elements my body requires," she explained, consuming a mixture of minerals Mason had gathered at her request. Mason watched her, still marveling at her existence. Can your ship be repaired? Alara's silver eyes reflected the dancing flames. No, and even if it could, I cannot return. She hesitated, then placed her hand on her abdomen. I carry life, Mason, 3 lives. Mason's eyes widened. You're pregnant? Yes, with triplets. A rare occurrence for my species. Her expression became troubled. It's why I fled. On my world, multiple births are considered genetic anomalies. The children would be taken for experimentation. The revelation stunned Mason into silence. Not just an alien, but a pregnant alien refugee carrying triplets. How far along are you? He finally asked. By your measurement, approximately 4 months. Our gestation period is shorter than humans. They will arrive within 2 lunar cycles. That evening, as Mason prepared dinner, Alara suddenly doubled over in pain. Pearlescent sweat beaded on her forehead as she clutched her abdomen. Alara! Mason rushed to her side. What's happening? My body is struggling with Earth's atmosphere, she gasped. The babies are adapting faster than I can. Mason helped her to the bed, panic rising in his chest. He had no medical training, especially not for alien physiology. Tell me what to do. Alara's breathing stabilized after several tense minutes. There is nothing you can do. My body must adapt, or... The unspoken alternative hung in the air between them. Later that night, as Alara slept, Mason found himself watching over her. The moonlight streaming through the window made her purple skin glow with an ethereal beauty. Without thinking, he reached out to brush a strand of silver-white hair from her face. Alara's eyes fluttered open, catching him in the tender gesture. Instead of pulling away, she took his hand in hers. On my world, touch is sacred, she whispered. Reserved only for those we trust completely. Their fingers intertwined, her skin warm against his. I trust you, Mason Reed. The moment was interrupted by Mason's satellite phone ringing. His sister Olivia's name flashed on the screen, the sister he hadn't spoken to in years. Mason, listen to me. Olivia's voice was urgent. There are government agents asking questions about something that crashed near you. A woman named Diana Winters. Be careful. As he hung up, Mason looked out the window to see headlights winding up the mountain road toward his cabin. Dr. Olivia Reed stared at the blood sample under her microscope, her hands trembling slightly. After Mason's desperate call, she'd driven through the night to reach his remote cabin, bringing her portable medical equipment. What she found there defied everything she knew about biology. Her cellular structure is incredible, Olivia murmured, adjusting the lens. The babies are showing adaptive mutations, incorporating human DNA from the environment. Mason paced nervously while Diana Winters sat silently in the corner, still processing what she'd discovered upon arriving at the cabin. Instead of reporting Alara's existence to her superiors, the government agent had made a surprising choice after witnessing Alara's condition. If my agency finds her, she'll disappear into a laboratory forever, Diana said flatly. Along with those children. Alara lay on Mason's bed, her purple skin paler than usual. The markings on her forehead pulsed weakly. The triplets are consuming nutrients my body cannot replenish here, she explained, her voice strained. On my world, there are elements in the air that sustain pregnant females. Olivia looked up from her notes. I might be able to synthesize something similar. I need access to a proper lab. Use mine, Diana offered unexpectedly. Off the books, Mason raised an eyebrow. Why are you helping us?